So Camille banner is ending in one day, and the next banner very fast is going to be Arcane, and then after that is going to be LIINO. No reruns, no additional banners at all. It's just going to be these two. So the important question to ask for everyone is to whether or not to pull for Arcane or LIINO, assuming you're free to play and you don't have infinite money to spend on both of these banners. So one important thing to note here is that in Enfield, you can get like the previous character when you lose your 50-50. So when you roll for LIINO, there's a chance of you getting Arcane and also a chance of you getting Camille as well. Meanwhile, when you pull for Arcane, you have a chance of getting Camille and also Mifu as well. But it doesn't happen all the time. It only happened to me once in my entire Enfield journey when I rolled for Camille and I got Zhongfangyi and Mifu. But that's just a small probability. You don't want to rely on that. Now let's take a look at, let's start with Arcane. We'll talk about what really is Arcane, or who is Arcane, the pros and cons, and then we'll move on to LIINO. So Arcane is a very special character in Enfield. We already seen her kit. It's a bit confusing. They don't explain it way too much. There's a lot of missing questions. Like, if you build main DPS Arcane, can you easily switch to support? Do you need to take out all of the gear and weapons and all that? I'm pretty sure weapons should be the same. It's just that the gear is going to be the main focus. So Arcane is the first ever, most unique character ever to have two builds, and she has two sets of ability. When you have more intelligent, you become the more DPS Arcane. If you have more will, you become a more support Arcane. We won't get into too much details on all the abilities, but that basically summarizes it. When she basically can be a DPS and also a sub DPS, but you have to have the gear to set up for it. You have to be intentional whether or not which one do you want. And also you cannot switch them in the middle of a fight. So you just have to decide on whether or not which one you want. But the option is always there. And Arcane, meta-wise, or performance, utility-wise, seems to be probably the best character in the game ever. She's the only character that can be both DPS and sub DPS. This character is practically cheating, let's be honest. Her support abilities are also just like Gilberta, but better. Even though we rarely use Gilberta's skill, her skill is literally like a fast version of Gilberta. She can stack Arts Infliction. She can give a bunch of Nature Infliction to Yvonne and all that. And I think that's the best part about Arcane is that even when her main DPS gets power grab and doesn't do that much damage over time, she can just transition into a support role and then still stay in the game for 1,000 years. So Arcane is kind of a no-brainer. She's going to be broken. And I honestly did not expect them from that. I didn't know that they were going to go so hard for Arcane. And it kind of makes sense. Arcane looks like a character that can just do everything. She looks like a mechanical support character. I didn't expect them to make her and all in one. She could do damage, she could do grouping, she could do crowd control, she could apply infliction, she could support off-field, she could do domain expansion, she could do anything. She's basically she's going to be the next Enfield shill. And she's coming right after Camille, so I'm not too sure whether or not Camille performed really good or not. A lot of times with these male characters in these 3D gachas is that they are very popular and get a lot of likes, but they're not necessarily making a lot of revenue. It might be because that usually the male enjoyer have more time to save, so they're more free to play and they can get Camille. But anyways, Arcane seems to be going to be a heavy hitter, a character that's going to be very popular and heavily marketed. So Arcane, I haven't even touched on pros and cons. I think I already talked about Arcane pros. Arcane pros, she's good in both roles. That's her main gimmick, is that she's good in both things at the same time. I mean, she can't do both at the same time, but you basically have when you get Arcane, you basically have the strongest DPS in the game and also one of the best sub DPS grouping in the game, possibly even better than Gilberta when she comes out for the testing. And one more thing, Arcane is currently the only Nature Infliction main DPS at the moment. We don't get that many Nature DPS. We don't get that many Nature characters. We only have two 5 or 6 stars. 1 6-star is Gilberta. She's a support. And then Ardelia is also a standard support. The other Nature characters all support Fluorite or whatever. Arcane is the first Nature main DPS. So any content that wants Nature DPS, you're basically just stuck with Arcane. But of course, I don't think there's any like end game stage that only like restricts to like nature. They usually pair it up to with like cryo and nature together. Like this stage likes cryo and nature, and then the other pairing is heat and electric. And then the third element would be like just raw physical. So having Arcane means having a nature DPS. Not having Arcane equals not having nature DPS. Simple as that. And you can tell Arcane is going to be good by looking at her design-wise. She has white hair. And statistically speaking, gacha characters with white hair, or just anime characters with white hair in general, equals good. And I'm not even counting it anymore, but like another pro of like Arcane is that she just have like a crap ton of teammates. She works with all the teams. She works with other sub DPS like Akikuri, Wolfguard. You've seen from the showcase. She works with like sub DPS, and she works with main DPS like Yvonne. So whatever character you currently have, very likely Arcane will work with them. And even if you never roll for any character at all, you only have the starter, beginner, free-to-play characters, Arcane will still be the best addition possible to your roster. And I feel like in this game, main DPS seems to be more important than like getting like supports, I feel. Because like supports, you can switch them out with like free-to-play budget alternatives like Akikuri and all that 4-star stuff that's like really good. But like for main DPS, there's not much like substitute. Like if you want to play like a heat damage character, you only have Levitain. There's no like free to play heat fire main DPS. And obviously this is even more the case with like nature element. There is no nature DPS at all until Arcane. So there's that. And you already know about Arcane Pros. Arcane Pros is basically I've been talking about it. I did not even keep track of it. That's how much pros Arcane has. So what are any weakness for Arcane? Any cons? So far I cannot think of anything. I guess her cons is that trying to like build for her DPS and her sub DPS might require like 2 sets of gear, so you need to like farm twice the amount of gears. And we don't know this yet, but hopefully the battle skill, the skill point, and all that doesn't take like double the resources. So that's one weakness. She might take more resources if you want to play both sub DPS and main DPS. And I guess if we really want to nitpick, her other con is that Arcane might be like harder to play. Like maybe you're a new player, you didn't read her description or whatever, and like you're wondering why is your ability different than like other people's ability. Like maybe you haven't graduated a kindergarten and you don't know how to read. You might struggle with Arcane. But I don't think that's that big of a problem. You'll eventually figure it out anyway. So Arcane, full of pros, no cons. Should you pull for Arcane? I would say if you have 120 pulls, you probably should. I would probably also pull for her once I have enough guaranteed. I know a lot of us Camille pullers, we just died from pulling from Camille. So if you don't have 120 pulls, then just don't risk pulling on Arcane just yet. Can farm a bit, wait a bit. There's a lot of like new rewards to like farm for, so don't have to worry too much. And also there's a chance of getting Arcane in like the next 2 banners, so like when you roll for LIINO, for example. And that brings us to the second character, LIINO, which is going to be like 20 days after Arcane comes out. So around like August 9th, so like next month. So LIINO is a very different character. LIINO is like electric. She buffs electric stuff. She buffs your damage. Very easy to use. She uses like very small amount of SP. That's her like unique selling point, is that she uses like one tiny droplet of SP, and then she like flies around with you. I think that's kind of the unique point, is that when she's like off you, she flies around, she sings. She's kind of like Robin or whatever. And LIINO seems to be pretty good as well, but I think she's not at the same level as Arcane. Now, don't quote me on that. Before testing, maybe LIINO becomes like the most important support ever. But currently, one weakness of LIINO is that they didn't show a lot of like different teams for LIINO. LIINO is electric, so they only show like Zhuangfangyi as a premium Zhuangfangyi team. And also another team that they showcase with LIINO is just an Arcane team. So they're like encouraging you to get Arcane. So they're basically showing Arcane team again after the Arcane showcase. So I guess they're telling you to just go get Arcane instead. So LIINO, one concern is that the team building might not be very flexible. I mean, I'm trying to think of where LIINO would fit. First, I think she wouldn't really fit in like a Yvonne team. I think there are like way better options than her. Maybe Levitain, but like as like Camille and maybe like Anto or whatever. And maybe she could use LIINO since like heat and electric are kind of one. But we don't have much data on that yet. Every single places I see on the internet recommends that LIINO works with like Zhongfangyi or Avelina or Electric Team. No demonstration of LIINO being like a universal character that works for every team. So LIINO seems to be not as big of a pull as Arcane. But, you know, best case scenario, you get Arcane and LIINO and that would be like, you know, perfect. Okay, I forgot to mention this, but LIINO is also like the first like premium healer this game is going to have. This game previously did not have any like 6-star healer. The only one that had any healing was Gilberta. But let's be real, Gilberta heals like 2 droplets of HP, and it requires like more than 2 like enemies, so it just never works against like a single target boss. LIINO is the only like real healing character, and as you can see from the showcase, she heals a lot. The only other like sustain option you really have is like Amber or like Snowshine or Ardelia. And like LIINO kind of fills that niche if you like really want like a very simple healer that like, and you can basically never take damage ever again. So LIINO is a big quality of life achiever. And I almost forgot to mention LIINO, her ultimate, I reread their like kits and all again just to make sure. She also amplifies nature and electric, so she's kind of like the opposite of Anto. You know, Anto, his ultimate is just amplifying heat and electric. LIINO amplifies electric and nature, so she's basically locked into just playing electric and nature teams. But of course, you can still use it on like other cryo or heat teams just for the healing and also just general buffs. But like for the most optimal usage of LIINO that uses her ult, she's just used on electric and nature teams. Now, electric teams, we actually have 2. Zhongfangyi for people who pull on her, and Avelina for people who didn't pull for Zhongfangyi. And for nature team, as previously mentioned, there is only one nature main DPS, and that's going to be Arcane. So LIINO could buff Arcane. So LIINO buffs Arcane, but Arcane might not necessarily need to have LIINO. We don't know what is Arcane like best team yet, but like Arcane best team is probably going to have LIINO. But from their showcase, they didn't show like Arcane using LIINO as the best like support. They show Arcane in the LIINO showcase. But you know, at the same time, in the future, they're probably going to drop more electric and nature DPS characters anyway. So they're both of these 2 supports are quite future proof. So you can be safe on that. So now we have a main DPS and also a support 2 in one character, and also one is a support but like specializes in not taking a lot of SP and also specializing in like for Zhongfangyi. So it's DPS support in one character and then support in another character. So my opinion, I'm pulling for Arcane, and I'm gonna wait and see, and I'm probably going to skip LIINO, let's be real. But you know, LIINO doesn't seem like such a bad character. I would have put LIINO if she wasn't like right after like Arcane. That is my personal pooling opinion. So what I would recommend is look at your account and see which character, I mean, just pull for which one you like more. If you really care about like damage and all that, you can look at what teammates you have and then decide based on that. If you have Zhongfangyi, you want your Zhongfangyi to become the crack electric lord, then you can try to get LIINO. But if you need just about anything else, if you really don't care about anything else, you can just go get Arcane and just build her as a main DPS or a sub DPS. And one other thing, people say that Arcane kind of like power creeps Gilberta with her like skill, with her support skill where it's like grouping but like really fast. So if you don't have Gilberta, which honestly, I see a lot of people actually don't have Gilberta, especially the ones that just started the game because of Camille. Arcane can be very good. She can basically do what Gilberta do as well. It's just that I think Arcane doesn't give like the art susceptibility to them. So honestly, if you just started the game just for Camille, you probably have enough resources to get another like guaranteed pull. If you're not like too unlucky with like Camille and you did not pull like P5 Camille or something like that. But you know, other than these 2, there's also like the 3 more potential characters in the next version. There is, you know, Sui Proxy. There's also the new male character. There's also the purple girl. Obviously, I made an estimation on all their release dates. It's not confirmed, but they're probably around there, around like the next month, probably like September, October, around that. If you do plan on getting the male character, you should probably probably, obviously save. But I think right now you probably have enough like time and hopefully enough luck to just get like one of these two characters without going to like pity, without wasting too much resources. But so far we have a lot of information. I mean, as of talking right now, they're like uploading more like Arcane combat demo. We don't have that much information on LIINO just yet, but hopefully some more information on LIINO drops. That would be good. But as of right now, I feel like LIINO already has like a lot of like free-to-play alternatives, while Arcane does not. So Arcane seems to be going to be the next main big push. So my advice to get Arcane, and hopefully you get Arcane. And also on a side note for like Camille mains, if you're thinking on whether or not these characters have any like synergy with Camille, I think it's also still Arcane. I think Arcane kind of works with everyone. Like maybe, I do want to try like maybe Arcane support with Camille. That could be a thing, since she could like increase the arts infliction. But I'm also going to try out Arcane main DPS and see if... But I feel like Arcane main DPS is not really going to work with like Camille, since Camille wants heat infliction to be like consumed. And when you play Arcane main DPS, she's going to do a lot more like nature infliction and corrosion. But not too sure about that yet. And obviously for LIINO, Camille, he's a fire support character. LIINO's an electric support character. They don't work together. Well, unless you're playing with like Anto and doing some crazy heat electric shit. If not, we're going to investigate Arcane and Camille very soon. So let me know in the comments what y'all think. No easy answer to which one you should pull, but I kind of recommend that Arcane is probably going to be the game next shilling super idol. And if you get both Arcane and LIINO, that'd probably be the best thing ever. That way you're going to have a super idol team. Anyways, let me know in the comment what y'all think, and I'll see y'all next time.